This is Richard back at you. Guys, we got Stuart's truck in the house, all the way from Amarillo. A hometown boy, guys, can you believe it? Woo! A hometown boy, unbelievable. But anyway, it's a 97 Silverado, 4-wheel drive, 5.7 motor. Now we're going to be doing the transmission, the transfer case, rear main seal, stuff like that. It's got 407,000 miles on it, guys. I think it's, this thing's lived a long time, I was fixing to say.
It's got critters.
Yeah, I think there's been 4 or 5 mice in there, had families in there 4 or 5 times. But anyway, we're going to be doing the transmission transfer case. I'm not sure exactly what was wrong with it. I know 407,000 miles. He's gotten a lot of usage out of this thing, guys.
Well, he said that it worked fine, but he really is trying to do
Preventive maintenance. Well, I mean, we're probably going to find a lot of wear in this thing. I mean, you can see here, the bushings really ate up the hub on the converter really bad. Went all the way around. Fluid looks pretty dark. I think it's probably got a ton of miles on it. 407, that's a ton. We have our lockup over in here. I mean, this is flat on both sides as can be. When they get that way, you'll start losing lockup. I mean, the tranny might have a little bit of lockup cold, but as it heats up, it just starts failing. We have our input, our speed sensor for our front. We got an output speed sensor dummy. Now we might have a reluctor in here if we get lucky. It does not have one. If it's been built before, sometimes you can put one in there and still put a dummy and you'll be fine. If that's what you got on the shelf, that's what you got on the shelf for putting new parts to put back in it. So but you can see the difference in the two. Now you don't want to put this here, you'll be in trouble because there's physically, there's a wheel up in there that spins and it counts. It gets right up close to it and it counts the teeth on it. So you can see here we got a ton of fluid in the connector. And we have a rear lube cooling system. Some of them will have a cooling fitting here. You can see where the case could have accepted one when they built it. So make sure you put the right one too, because this one here, they'll go either way. I've never stuck one here and tightened it down, but anybody can do anything, I guess. So, but the long one goes here. They do make an aftermarket one here that has a threaded end on it where you can physically put aftermarket lines on it too. So. We are going to be doing the transfer case too. So. We have been really lucky, blessed to get all this work and staying really busy. Straightening out a lot of problems though. Man, that's all we do. So, takes a lot longer to build them when you've got people that's already been in them. Don't look too bad. Like I said, this gentleman could have serviced it to death. And like I said, service and trannies get you a long ways. The pan's never been beat up against the filter. You might see a little bit of suction circle right through there a little bit, but looks like it's been serviced recently too by looking at the gasket. So we have the bump style filter, which is the late version. Early version won't have them. You don't want to get it mixed up because the filter will fall off.
Good thing I have my rubber suit on.
Yeah, you got lucky there. So no metal, though. That's what's really nice about this one. You'll take it apart and put all new bushings in it and stuff. But you still got to change your solenoids, all your seals, stuff like that. So they make two versions of this wiring harness, different connectors for your pressure control solenoid here. Let's try to get this out of the way first. The plastic's really hard. You can tell it's been hot for sure. Everything's really brittle. Now this is your lube tube. On the rear cooler line style, the rear lube tube is in the back that lubricates the bushing here. If it's a two-wheel drive, it'll also lubricate the tail housing bushing in the back. Now the earlier design, the tube come from here and went to the back. It was a great big tube about the size of a pencil. Went all the way back here and then lubricated the tail housing bushing or whatever. Case bushing. Now the wiring harness is going to go in the trash can, of course. Is that Milwaukee Shine, guys? Man, that red's bright. Ah, looks really good. So this thing's brand new. I haven't hardly even used it.
So what do you think about the DeWalt compared to the DeWalt?
I haven't got that far yet. That's too early of a question.
Really?
Yep. Now this is your Park rooster cone spring here, detent spring. That's what you'll feel clicking when you move your shifter. Click, click, click. Yeah, I'm still working on that thought. Like I said, they both have their own what's that word I'm using? Wanting to use. They both work better in areas. You know what I mean? Kind of hard to say that. But this is your pillow switch here. They do make a later version you can put on here that covers all the electronics and stuff like that. These are just little micro switches that fluid presses on. Tells the computer when the tranny's made the shift and stuff like that. So this tranny didn't have any codes, I don't believe.
No.
Put this up here just a little bit. It is heavy. I need to put that. Trying to get this ring broke in on this thing, get these sockets to come off a little smoother. It's got plenty of oil on it to do it. Now we have our accumulator springs here. Now if you come in here and look here, you can see this hole here, and this hole here. Now these are the three holes that we're going to be modifying to make a firmer shift, your second, third, and fourth gear shifts. I don't like to mess with accumulator bodies and block these off right here until we get into really high horsepower stuff. But if you can just large these three holes to about 97 or so, I mean, it makes it a really nice shift. Now we have this accumulator spring here. It's broke. Get it out of there. This will be the longer one. The longer one always goes to your right when you stick them back in there. That's what I've always learned.
Wow.
Let me see. We don't see, very seldom see issues with our accumulator imperfections here or anything like that. Now we see more seal shrinkage and stuff like that causing cross leaks and stuff like that in this area, but we very seldom see these fail. Even when it comes to pin wear and stuff like that, they're really long shanked and they're really stable. So now we're going to put a Transgo kit in here. We're going to be adjusting the lockup feel on this thing, being that it's 4-wheel drive. They give you 2 options in your Transgo, or excuse me, in our Sonex kit. Now we are putting a Transgo kit in this thing too, though. Actually, here's our Transgo kit we'll be putting in this one here. Now we'll be putting a Sonex TCC valve that comes with the Teflon ring that goes on the end of it here. You can see the little Teflon ring. If you got any bore wear or anything like that, that'll help your valve still function properly. And it comes with 2 different springs in there for a firmer lockup or a softer lockup. So best for towing or just driving. And it does make a big difference on what spring you put in there. So I'm going to try to get this off here. And a lot of guys don't know this exists unless you've done a lot of these. This tranny's got a rubber seal in it right here. And it's kind of tough to get out, but I'm going to try to get it out for you. A lot of people don't know it exists. You pull this pin right here, like that. I'm going to get my glasses out of my pocket real quick so I can see, and I'm going to try to wiggle this thing out of here. Now we replace it on every overhaul, but a lot of guys don't even know it exists. There's so many seals that come in this kit that you don't use for different trannies and stuff, so you don't see it. But down in here, I'm going to try to push this sleeve out. You got to just push real gently. Nothing's easy, you know that. Some of them, it's very hard to get out. Come on. I'm going to try to push that. Come on. There we go. Keep going. There we go. It's tough to get this out, guys. But once you get it out so far, you can keep on pulling it. Now you'll have a big check ball that comes out. Yep. Right there. And then you're going to have the seal part come out. Now you got to be careful pushing this out because it'll caulk and then you'll get it in a bond. And then you won't get it out to replace the seal. And remember, this is on a 4L80E. A lot of guys don't even know this exists. But you got to be careful because I'm telling you, it's not easy to get out. And you can... what I like to do, I like to take this tranny foot and kind of dip it down in there really good. Get some thick grease in there because aluminum and aluminum don't like each other. Aluminum and aluminum. That sounds funny.
Yeah,
but they don't really like each other when they start sliding against each other. So you want to use some type of lubricant to keep them from grabbing. Come on, don't do it again. Okay, there we go. There it is. Now see this rubber O-ring right here, guys? People don't even know it exists, but this thing gets flat as a board. And it's flat as a board, wore plumb out. So always replace this too. It's a little job to do it. Always use some thick grease. Tranny fluid, it really doesn't help. It needs to be something a little bit thicker. I'm going to set this over here so I don't lose it. And then you have a valve and spring in there too. So we'll get this all cleaned up, and our other valve, our lockup valve, is going to go in here, our Sonex valve. We're going to have to get this all cleaned up. We're going to pull this pin out right here, pull this solenoid off, pull the old valve out and spring, put the new valve and spring that we prefer on our lockup field, and then we'll put it all back together, new seals and stuff like that. So, but that O-ring right there is real critical on every one you do, so very interesting. And we do have all of our check balls in this one here. Get this out of the way and throw it away. Like I said, we do have all of our check balls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Always look at your plate for wear, because you can see here in this plate, you can start seeing wear here where these metal balls have been hitting. So these are repairable, so you just want to look for that type of stuff. You can go back with the Dodge plastic valve, or valve ball, excuse me. Yep, the neoprene ones. They say your kit will always come with all your new Teflon rings and stuff. Make sure this clip ain't broke. Other than that, don't ever see any issue there. We got a nice BOP sitting there that we're fixing to build. We're going to be switching over to a 4-wheel drive. He's putting it in a Jeep that he's custom building and stuff. It's going to be really nice. Excited to do that. So you want to come in here and wobble this shaft right here, make sure this ain't wore out or the pin broken, or the clip Feels really good. Got a new gasket in the kit. New rubber O-ring right here. Square cut on inner and outer edges. And then you have your rubber seals here too. Now, the earlier versions will come with a Teflon seal. I've never tried to retro them back to see if they will. You can probably go get you a late version, put rubber seals on, put it in an early design. So, it's your Accumulator Spring for your third gear. I'm gonna get that loosened up yet. I like them snug on there for sure. Get our case support bolt out. Now that's a hollow bolt, just like our overdrive support bolt is. Two different bolts, they will not interchange. Now your shift kit's going to come with a new bolt here. That's going to be a black bolt with a gold washer that's hardened. And then your overhaul kit's going to come with a new bolt here. So. Your overhaul kit will come with your seal here for your filter. Always replace it. And there's the mess. And I mean a mess, huh? I think this thing's been pumping oil for a while. But it's got all the dust covers up in front and stuff, so this thing must live on dirt roads, or it's been down a lot of dirt roads in its lifetime. Get our pump out here. Almost kind of got signs of moisture, like it's had a little bit of water in it. Kind of like our valve body gaskets that stick here. Anytime you see gaskets that stick like that, 90% of the time they've had water. Your gaskets come off just brittle like this when they just break. Heat and water. So, pretty brittle. So you can see rust in here. You can see some rust, signs of rust along the edge here of the stator. So, no shift kit at all so far, just stock looking. So, I'm telling you, the Transgo kits that we put in these, they work really well. I mean, if you ain't putting Transgo Sonex in your trannies, you're not helping them, for sure. I'll look here for any type of wear, Scotch-Brite this up. Look here for any wear. Make sure this is a late model pump with a little notch here. Pump looks brand new, unbelievable. That kind of mileage on it. I'm gonna get in here and look for any wear. Most of the time, 90% of the time, you'll start seeing wear right here where the converter starts pulling on the gear. See it here too. Massive pump gears. This tranny is capable of making 600 pounds of pump pressure, and the shift kit is a part about controlling it. So overpressuring or anything like that, the kit is designed to blow it off where you can't break pistons and stuff like that. So look at your stator body or your pump body. 90% of the time, you're always going to see a little bit of wear right here. That does not hurt anything. Kind of take a file and clean it up a little bit, but when you put new gears in there, you'll be fine. Now, if you look here, now we could have a lot of wear on this motor, this kind of mileage. I don't know if it's ever been replaced or anything like that, but we could have a small issue going on here. If you see here, the pump bushing from here to here still looks brand new. If you come and look down here, it started eating into the brass, and that's why our converter hub looks so bad on the torque converter. I mean, it's just chewing deep into this thing. So, in other words, when we put this back in, we could have an issue right here. Now, I can try to line the pump up a little bit and off-center this when I build it back, because I control on how these two pieces go together, and I can move them a couple thousandths and kind of take this off of that a little bit. Doesn't affect the pump. Like I said, we can have a couple thousandths off and be okay. Converter hubs on your torque converters can be a few thousandths off. Not much, they like them dead on, but they can be off just a little bit. So now we're going to be putting a new boost valve and stuff in our pump. That way that has all new stuff, that way it's really controlled good. Look at our overdrive planet here and our engine braking clutch. Got signs of a little bit of rust starting to appear here too in places. Get your input shaft. Scotch-Brite all these surfaces up. They're just really shiny, that's all they are. Scotch-Brite them up and you'll never even see that anymore. Looks really nice. So look at your overdrive planetary. Look at your gears on both sides, the coast and the drive side. Look at your sun gear, same way. And we change almost 100% of these every time we do one. I mean, I very seldom ever find one that's any good. So that's pretty much why we have a new one sitting here already, just to go ahead and be ready for it, because we already know what we got going on. It happens every time. You don't see the wear in the planet. I mean, these things, you just don't see them wear out. Now, when you clean this out, there's a lot of metal in here, and a lot of metal goes down this hole, the pin feed hole to cool the gear. So you got to really clean these to get the metal out of there that you just put in there from cleaning it. So, see that? We do a lot of stuff to these trannies right here, let me tell you. See here, we got a lot of wear on our engine brake clutch. Now, you don't see that very often in this unit. I mean, normally when the filter starts failing, the customer starts grabbing for straws and trying to get this thing to move and stuff like that, when we start seeing stuff like that. But you have your normal, or not normal, but it's called a roller sprag. Now the earlier design has a little tiny overdrive sprag. If you look in my other videos on some of these, you can see the difference. Now you have a bonded piston. We'll change the piston and then move our spring retainer and our snap ring over to our new drum. So. Like I said, you can start seeing a little bit of rust here and here. Water is not a transmission's friend, or vice versa. You can just see here, a lot of miles. These are tough old trannies, let me tell you. You keep the filter clean on them, they will go and go and go. But if you starve them, I'm telling you, it don't take much to kill them. Look at your bearing here. This bushing here is a really bad bushing about wearing. and letting your input shaft rub here and start wearing the drum out down in here where them 2 sealing rings run. Got a hardened hub there. You can see your forward clutch is already starting to get pretty dark. Steels are nice and shiny. Now down in here is where I was talking about, where that shaft can rub, right here and right down in here. You want to look at both them areas. If it looks good, take your finger, a little bit of Scotch-Brite, clean that up. Change your bonded piston out, put a new bushing in there. Check both sides of your ring gear. Our plastic washer. Now this is our high reverse clutch here. Now this old tranny might not be burned up, it just might be just age wore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seals hard, seals wore out, clutches are just down to nothing, well there's just nothing on them. They're so thin. And he brought it in just right, truthfully. I mean, this thing was fixing to go down. Got your bonded piston here. You want to look down in here for any wear. And where your sealing rings run for your center support. Your reverse clutch and your reverse, or your high clutch in there. Your intermediate sprag assembly, when you put it back together, it always spins to the right. Not to the left, it does not like spins to the right. Now these have a locking snap ring. Sometimes you'll have to slide it, turn it to get this little notch with this groove right here so it'll unlock. And I didn't say it was easy. I'm just telling you that's how they usually go. And then sometimes you'll have to even bring it back around and line it up to get this one here to get it to go back in, because it's double locked. It's got one there and there. So you start it back there, get it to lock in that one, turn it all the way around to get it to lock in that one. See? So it's got 2 locks on it. You want to look here for any wear here, or these tabs will wear off. Next thing you know, this starts spinning, tries to take your snap ring out. Your forward sprag. This gives me your intermediate sprag. Got a lot on my mind. I tell you. Like I say, this looks starting to look pretty bad through here. You can Scotch-Brite up and look and see what it looks like. If it doesn't look good, replace it. Just always want to let your outer race, and then your inner race here, you want to look at this too. As I get this off there, some of them are a bear. I say you want to look all around here. Scotch-Brite this up really good and look at it again and again. Look for any wear. But that Scotch-Brite's your friend, guys, when it comes to this stuff here and down in here. You can see that looks like you see wear. And I'm telling you, there is nothing there. I can't feel it through my glove, and I dang sure ain't gonna feel it through my finger because I can't feel it grabbing it. So I can Scotch-Brite that, all that shading will go away right there and look brand new again. So got our engine braking band. See, here's might be starting to wear on the tips a little bit, but these things are cheap. You can put them in there. Now, if you notice here, this is what I call a no-no. You see how they put this snap ring in this big gap right here? There's no area to hold it. Always take and put the opening over here and try to put the tip underneath here instead of putting it out in the gap like that. Because that's what happens. That's what breaks these lugs off here on the ends. So, and if you can find a thicker snap ring, something that's got a wider base, that's the same thickness here, but it's wider this way, that helps keep this snap ring from bending like this and breaking that out right there too. So, I'm just going to give you an example. This is a wavy one, but if you find one that's that wide but the same thickness, you can see how it wouldn't bend where this one here will bend. So I have them all over the place. Of Chrysler 48s, forward drum snap rings and stuff like that work really good. There's a lot of different tranny snap rings you can swap around. You have your intermediate clutch here. You have your wave. Just real shiny steels. I mean, this thing must have shifted really, really soft. Just barely hanging in there. But like I said, if you keep the filter changed, I mean, these things will go. I mean, they will. And this is a proven example right here on one right here. And have very little bit of wear. And we have a bearing here and a race. You want to check both here and then on the back side here and your rollers on this bearing. Now this is a thrust washer right here that goes in the bottom of your support, and this is selective. You can set your end clearance up in the back of the case right here. Once you put your center support bolt in and put your snap ring, tighten it down, then you can check your clearance back here on this part here. And if you need to tighten it up, you can put a thicker one of these. So, or you can shim the bottom washer in the back too. I mean, there's multiple ways to doing it. Just knowing how to do it or doing it, period. That's the thing. So, now since this is a rear lube, we have special bushings in the support here, the shaft here. You see them here. Your lube oil goes down. You can see these are just about wore out though. Look at that. So, now we don't like to use the solid Teflon rings on here. We'll go with the black ones that come in the kit. There's 2 rings that'll come in your overhaul kit, and it's a builder preference on which ones to use. Now a lot of times we take this apart right here, and this is bent. It's bowed up like this, and what we'll do is we'll remove one spring out of each one of these, separate it and bend it back, and it'll keep that from bowing back. Okay, so that's a real simple fix on that. You don't have to find another one or anything. Extra seals here. Okay, you're going to put a new bushing in here. Now you can tell the difference in the bushing. The 400 bushing on the early design is the same. Now on the later design, rear lube, the bushing is different. And how you can tell that it has a weep hole right down here on the bottom. So, let me see, I'll show you. You can see a slot in it right here for the later version, 480E, and it'll have 2 holes. Where the 400 in the earlier version just has a square hole right here and no hole here. So, say we replace every one of these. And then you want to look here on this drum here. You want to make sure none of your pins have traveled on your gear side. We see a lot of them that try to move this way and try to take out this washer right here. If they do move, you can take and tap them back and take and TIG weld the pins in down here and stop that from moving. We do it on every one we do just because we know it's going to happen. Now, if you look here, see this gear right here? You see that brass washer right there? See that?
Yes.
See that? See that? See that one? Look at this one, gone. Bang, bang. Look how much gaps in there. So that tells me this carrier right here is no good. If not, we'll have to knock this pin out, put new thrust washers in here, check the bearing and pin, put it all back together. You can't save this drum by doing that, but physically that needs attention. Scotch-Brite this up, TIG your pins, you'll be good to go. Now this does have the later version of Sprag assembly. It's got the legs on it. They do have an earlier version that has no legs, and then they have a little funny looking spacer in here that your Sprag sets down on if you don't have the leg style. This will retrofit any direction. Just make sure you have a smooth band instead of a coarse band. So. Now we have our really thin snap ring that sets in the case that our support sets on. You can see our lube seal here that our cooler line fitting goes into. And then we have our reverse band here. This thing's pretty much cooked. And of course we got our sun gear on the backs, lower sun gear. These all come in messed up, wore out. We replaced every one of them. I got a new one here. You can see we buy them by the dozens. I mean, we just replace tons of the sun gears, pretty much all of them. Now this is a 4-groove style, so this has to have a 4-groove style put back in it since it has a rear lube cooling system. So now here's that thrust washer that if your pin moves in your carrier right here, it'll eat this washer up. Now you can go back with a 4-tab rear washer back here in the back. If you retrofit this over to a bearing in the back right here, you can put a washer, this 4-tab washer will set right down in here. See? And you can use that washer there. That way you don't melt any plastic out if you're getting it really hot and stuff like that. So, very simple. Look for any parking wear here where your parking rod locks on. See a tad wear, but that's normal wear for that kind of mileage. That thing looks brand new. So your overhaul kit could come with 2 different style bushings. You want to make sure you put the right one in here. So you're going to look at both sides of the races on this bearing here, same on this bearing. Scotch-Brite this hub up. Scotch-Brite this up. Same way, come in here, look at the carrier. Here's another one right here that's wore out. Look at this. No thrust washer right there, it's gone. See that? Look at this one. Tight, tight, tight. So this thing's going to need 2 carriers put in it. This one here and this one here, just as a starter. So what you run into these high mileage ones like that, you don't think there's anything wrong with the clean pan, but he serviced it before. He brought it to us, I believe, because the pan's awful clean. But anyway, we're going to get this thing back together, get it going, and actually we got his transfer case sitting there too. We're fixing to do another video on it, so we've got a ton of work going. But anyway, this is for the builders out there. Back in the early days, when we got our overhaul kits, okay, we all went to the overhaul kit and looked for one certain thing. What did we do, guys? A lot of the companies out there started putting them in there for us to get us through the day because they knew how stressed out we were when we build all these things. So if you come to an overhaul kit and you open it up and you look in here and you open the kit up and bang, what do you see? You see 2 Jolly Ranchers. Can you believe that, guys? Now back in the day, I'm going to say late 90s, early mid 90s, they started putting candy in your overhaul kits and stuff. So when you open it up, you had a little treat to keep you going. So
Didn't it used to be Tootsie Rolls though?
It used to be all kinds of Tootsie Rolls. I mean, you never knew what you got, but it was a treat for the builder to when he started building and stuff like that, because they knew he was going to be on that bench for another 4 hours. So, but hey, it was a thought. If any builders out there that do watch this show and stuff like that, give me a thumbs up if you remember that. So, hey, y'all don't forget to subscribe. Again, Teresa, thanks for the video, and it's hot, guys. Y'all have a great day.